following program is classified G. It's suitable for all ages.
Tonight, is Sri Lanka becoming a haven for online predators? With numerous cases of child sex abuse solicited via online platforms being reported with the country, many raise the concern as to whether our children are safe online. With more screen time and online presence expected with COVID-19 coming to play, is this quickly becoming the mode of usage for every child sex offender? If cases such as that are rampant, does Sri Lanka have the necessary tools to fight it back? Good evening, I'm Suzanne Shanali. Tonight, Other Derana and The Morning investigates. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us on Investigates as we embark on another quest of finding the truth on a subject that's a major concern to everyday Sri Lankans. Tonight's topic is about safeguarding our younger generation. Anything can be double-edged sword. How we use something determines what we get out of it, and thus whether it can be a success or a failure. The internet is such a double-edged sword. The incident of the 15-year-old girl who was sold online and the spate of arrests that followed indicated the worrying state of Sri Lanka's approach to curbing online sexual abuse and exploiting cases. Despite laws and policies in place to prevent such crimes, they keep taking place, with one incident leading to several more. In fact, within several weeks after the mentioned incident, the police has reported several more child sexual abuse cases. Where are we as a country when it comes to saving children from online sexual predators? Tonight, we investigate.
Sri Lanka has always been a destination for child sex offenders, with many cases reported in the past where children were molested by visiting tourists. With cases on the rise concerning tourists, officials stepped into ensuring that Sri Lanka's tourism sector doesn't become a victim where the world sees the island nation as a cesspool for child sex offenders. However, despite necessary steps being taken in the past, a new worrying trend is emerging, where the child sex offenders have gone online to engage in their nefarious activities. According to National Child Protection Authority Chairman Professor Mudita Vidhanapathirana, there are numerous factors that contribute to the vulnerability of children online, which needs to be addressed, as laws mostly exist to deal with such events after they have occurred.
More than that, not only laws, there are some policies to counter online sexual activities. For example, it is very, very essential for the education department to be equipped with a lot of facilities and knowledge and awareness about cyber sexual violences. For example, from grade 6 onwards, all children have 1 to 2 periods of IT practicals per week. As you all know, from grade 10 onwards, for O levels, it can be selected from a basket of subjects comprising of health, PTS, and IT. And for advanced level students, IT has been included as a subject in arts, commerce, and math streams. And for all advanced level examinations, now there is a compulsory exam called JIT, General IT Examination. However, they teach only IT ethics, but there is only very little stress on cyber crimes. Therefore, NCPA got the leadership, and in 2020, last year, with the Save the Children International, we prepared a special program for Nanasalak, that is End Online Violence Against Children, to make children aware about online violence. Then, as you all know, Child Right Convention, it also gives a lot of rights for children, but children are not that aware about their rights. Therefore, children should be aware of their rights to be protected against cyber violence. NCPA is conducting a lot of awareness programs. Usually, we target the teens, especially children above 12 years, because they believe that their rights must be protected. So we usually do awareness programs for children above 12 years. However, we do not ignore children less than 12 years. We, with the help of our psychosocial officers, we make them aware.
The professor also noted that there has been an increase in the number of sexual-related cybercrimes reported. The NCPA received 8,856 complaints in total, not only cybercrimes in 2019, 8,165 complaints in 2020, and 4,740 cases thus far for 2021. However, the number of cybercrimes-related complaints it received has been growing from 43 cases in 2019 to 152 cases in 2020 and 73 cases thus far for 2021, leading it to expect that the figures will double by the year's end. Meanwhile, Police Media spokesman, Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police Ajit Rohana and cybersecurity expert Asela Vaidyalankara also concurred that there has been an increase in the number of online child sexual abuse and exploitation cases, which, according to Vaidyalankara, is a result of the COVID-19 pandemic situation, which has compelled children to adapt to online working and learning environments. To deal with this, the defense mechanism have undergone adaptation of their own. As Professor Derana further explained, the NCPA Cybercrime Investigation Unit was initially set up to only investigate recorded complaints, but over the past 2 years, the NCPA switched to a more proactive role to conduct surveillance online through this unit, locating such issues themselves.
Out of the complaints we received in 2020, 52% was our own surveillance complaints or the offences. Now you can understand why I mentioned that there is an increase in numbers of cyber online sexual violence cases. As you observed, the total number is in the trend of decreasing. However, the cyber online sexual violences are on rise. Why? Because we go and detect the cases. So National Child Protection Authority is doing a wonderful job at this time. For example, if we analyze these cyber violences,
the NCPA was aided in the development of the surveillance unit by Save the Children International, which sponsored 3 experts to aid the unit from March 2020 to March 2021. The unit used several new techniques and developed an action plan to improve its effectiveness and moved from closing the accounts of violators online to physically locating them and facilitating their arrests. In instances where abusers operate from overseas, the NCPA now works with the international police and internet regulators to locate them, cancel their accounts and pursue further legal action. This led to an effective coordination mechanism between the NCPA and these global and local agencies, where data on such offences are now shared among the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, the Police Cybercrimes Unit, and the Army Cybercrimes Unit for better collaboration on tracking down offenders. In October 2020, the NCPA also launched its 1929 mobile application for complaint submission to facilitate the reporting of such cases. Additionally, before the partnership with Save the Children expired in March of this year, the NCPA sought the assistance of the Management Services Department to approve a larger cadre of officers to handle the online surveillance effort and keep working proactively to solve issues related to online sexual violence. It is also currently in dialogue with the Internet Watch Foundation to acquire the facility to detect and remove all documents distributed by violators. The police are also involved in investigations into the extent of such activities online.
Especially, we have conducted a survey along with our computer crimes unit, and in addition to that, special unit of CID. So, accordingly, it has been observed that the perpetrators, in respect of child exploitation, child abuse cases, so they are having social media accounts, especially Facebook account, Viber, WhatsApp accounts in fake names. So they are pretending as genuine persons, but they act as they act as uh, uh, genuine persons, but they are not the real persons. So they had committed crimes, and apart from that, they are bad characters. Then what happens is the children, they add these people as friends. Then thereafter, they exchange various comments, uh, uh, each other, and finally the perpetrator is able to contact that particular child, and then thereafter the exploitation procedure happens. So this is the situation. So therefore, especially when children are using mobile smartphones, so all the times the adults, parents or the guardians, they have a liability and responsibility to monitor the situation all the times. Otherwise, they might be victims of child exploitation cases.
When queried as to whether Sri Lanka has adequate policies and laws to prevent child sexual abuse online and exploitation incidents, Senior DIG Ajit Rohana explained that Sri Lanka has ratified the UNCRC introduced in 1989.
UNCRC was introduced by the United Nations Organization in 1989. We have ratified the convention uh, in 1992. So after 3 years' time, we enacted first laws. The first law in incorporating the contents of the convention, that is the Penal Code Amendment Act number 22 of 1995. And thereafter, subsequent amendments have been uh, brought by our legislature. In addition to that, a remarkable amendment has been brought to our legal system in 2006 in respect of human trafficking, child exploitation.
Sri Lanka's legal framework is seen wanting because we still rely on penal provisions and many other residual legal provisions. But there are not at the moment precise provisions that tackle this type of online violence or online sexual violence or online violence that children face. But for example, if you look around the region, let's say Japan, Singapore, uh, even South Africa, Kenya, those countries have enacted specific legislations targeting cyberbullying, stalking, or any violence or any activity, any sexual violence or any other activity that could occur online, as either criminalize it as a punishable offense, or also by extension ask schools and any other institutions that special children interact with or deal with on a daily basis to have those policies. For example, in Japan, they have asked schools to have a specific cyberbullying and anti-stalking policies, and for those policies to be enforceable within the schools. So examples like that are some things we can take from the region. But if you take Sri Lanka as a whole, there is a lacuna in the law and there is a gap in enforcement as well.
We have certain laws in order to deal with situation, but our infrastructure should be developed. And apart from that, when this particular convention was ratified and the laws were made, so we didn't have a problem with cyberspace, cyber crimes. But at the moment, there is an increase of cyber crimes, cyber exploitations. So therefore, we need more and more laws in respect of cyber issues.
In the recent past, especially when it comes to cases of women seeking the assistance of law enforcement agencies with regard to online exploitation and harassment incidents, allegations were leveled that police officers were unaware and insensitive to such issues, hindering people from seeking legal assistance. The NCPA also confirmed this to us early this month, stressing that grassroots-level police officers have frequently proven reluctant to record complaints related to cybercrimes. In this regard, Senior DIG Ajit Rohana admitted that grassroots-level police officers are not fully equipped to conduct these types of investigations, and the offence takes place in cyberspace. To address this, the police have established two specific units, namely the Police Computer Crimes Unit and a special CID unit.
If it is a case in respect of cyber exploitation, we refer those cases to those units, and apart from that, CID has branches in Kandy and Matara, and we are going to open up or establish more and more branches at provincial level. So therefore, I think the matter could be sorted out. But at the moment, Police Computer Crimes Unit and the CID computer units, they are conducting investigations. Other police stations do not have the capacity to conduct investigations. So therefore, they entertain complaint, the local police, but those complaints are referred to these two institutions.
The increasing use of the internet and the level of digital literacy among children are seen by some as the main factor leading children to be vulnerable to issues such as online sexual abuse and exploitation. However, cybersecurity expert Asela Vaidyalankara opined that it is not necessarily a lack of digital literacy but a lack of responsible and careful use of the internet that makes children vulnerable.
For example, if you take the urban setup or urban household, children are in fact a little ahead of their parents when it comes to digital literacy, meaning that they are more averse, they're more aware, they know the nuances of how to use digital devices. So literacy levels are quite high. What we did see with the pandemic situation and online learning and many other activities shifting to online, especially the rural population, rural children also were forced to shift to online-based classes and learning. Because of that, we saw a gap in digital literacy. But certainly as a whole, if you look at Sri Lanka and the internet penetration of Sri Lanka right now, as of January this year, we just crossed the 50% mark. So overall, there is a digital literacy, there is internet literacy, but it is not only literacy, meaning the ability to use those devices.
Speaking of the magnitude of online sexual abuse and the exploitation of children, Buddhini Vithanas said that it is a huge industry on a global scale and that some parts of the internet, especially the deep web or the dark web, have made an environment for online child sexual exploitation and abuse to thrive as a business that attracts millions of clients across the world.
The data looks really, really difficult to digest. For example, the data shows that 1 in 3 internet users worldwide are children, right? So the exposure to the internet children is extremely high. And more worryingly, 750,000 individuals at any point in time are estimated to be looking to connect with children for sexual work.
According to the National Center for Missing and Exploitation Children, a non-profit organization established in 1984 by the U.S. Congress, Nearly 70 million images and videos related to online sexual abuse have been reported to them thus far. Meanwhile, according to cybersecurity expert Asela Vaidalankara, not only children but adults, including parents and guardians of children, have a massive responsibility to prevent online sexual abuse and the exploitation of children.
Actually, one thing is to monitor your child's online behavior. This is very important. For example, if the number of hours that they use a device within a day, there can be a cap for that. And also, one thing I urge parents is do not let your children go to bed with a digital device, because you're creating bad digital habits, as well as creating other complications as well in terms of sleep and concentration, etc. So those are some of those things. Plus, I urge parents to be a little more savvy in terms of some of the social medias platforms that are there right now the children are using, the communication apps that they're using, and if possible, install parental controls on those devices. So therefore, you have an idea of what the child is doing on those devices, how much they're using it, what are their usage, whom are they talking to, and etc. Also, it's important for parents to educate. Now, if you remember, long time ago, your parents used to tell you don't talk to strangers, and I think it's true even in the online thing. You mustn't talk to a person that you don't know in real life.
Children, by nature, are very trusting and generally tend to share identifiable information about themselves, especially online. Because of such behaviors, cybercriminals and online sexual predators target children, and there are two steps this process entails, namely grooming and mirroring. In this context, grooming refers to an action by a perpetrator to prepare a child for a meeting, especially via the internet, especially with the intention of committing a sexual offense, while mirroring refers to expressing similarities between the parties involved in a bid to build a connection.
Children who are trafficked don't usually realize that they've been harmed, don't usually realize that they're victims of trafficking. And that is because of the strong bond the perpetrator creates with the victim. So the perpetrator, we call it trauma bonding, right? So there's a huge dependency that is created. So the child depends heavily on the perpetrator for their basic needs and whatever else. And in return, the perpetrator provides all of that, but of course, all on his or her own terms.
Meanwhile, expressing similar concerns, Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Readiness Team, also known as SL-CERT, Information Security Engineer Nilushi Bandara emphasized that the importance of parents being open with their children to discuss children's online behavior, especially through building strong connections and through effective communication. She noted that in a context where it is difficult to completely control or restrict children's internet use, the best approach is to teach them how to use it responsibly and carefully, which involves protecting their identities and personal information when using the internet.
Lead by example and always model what kind of positive online behavior you would like your children to use. If they see you being cautious and respectable while you're being online, they're more likely to follow your footsteps. And this also, yes, it includes limiting your screen time.
The authorities seem to have paid attention to online sexual abuse and exploitation incidents, especially after the aforementioned incidents. However, preventive measures are more effective than corrective measures, and Sri Lanka has a long way to go when it comes to preventing such crimes, assisting the victims. In this day and age, it is almost impossible to live without the internet, and harboring an undue fear to the internet will not solve anything. We can only achieve this through the careful and responsible use of the internet. That's it for Investigates this Sunday night. Thank you for the privilege of your time. I'm Suzanne Shenali. Have a good night.